get a move on with the Snotmobile. Oh, shrinking cactus. Now, as you can see, from the back end certainly, Project Tony looks almost complete. Certainly by my standards. But, as we know, the front end is kind of out. There's no engine in there. He's had one of his eyes punched out. And the interior is mostly unsalvageable. I was going to just yank this up the back of the truck just then, and then I remembered something. I haven't got the boot open. And Rover may well have been happy to tell you that the reason they didn't put a button on the tailgate was to make it look a bit more modern or something, but we all know it's just another cheapskate move, and that means you cannot open the boot unless you've got the key fob with a working battery and the ECU and the BCU plugged in, which it hasn't, because I've sold the BCU. And even if I hadn't, I'm not sure I could be bothered to go to the effort of sticking the ECU back in and the fuse box and plugging everything back in again and then putting a battery on it as well just to open the boot. Especially when we have friends like Mr. Flat Blade Screwdriver to hand. So I've just got to climb in the back, basically. Climbing into the back of the damp car. I'm making it look difficult, but actually it is. It shouldn't be, but what's going on? Why am I finding this so difficult? Right, okay, I'm in the car. Once in the back of the car, I have to get back out again to get an 8mm ratchet spanner. There's the exposed catch, and we have two 8mm headed bolts there and there. That's the easiest way to get it off. Spanner. Okay, the reason it is difficult to get in there is because it's on a slope pointing up, and the front end of the car is pointing up because it's on 4 wheels. So maybe it would be a good idea to take the car off the wheels first. Time to deploy transit phase. Now, what's going to happen? Is the Streetwise going to be pulled smoothly over the wheels? Or is my useless handbrake going to bring the truck moving backwards instead? Won't wait to find out. Yep, the truck gave in. I'm going to have to go and sit on the brake. Looks like it's been doing some sort of dance from this angle. You see, now it's facing ever so slightly downward on the front end. That will make it easier for me to get inside with my 8mm spanner called Freddy. That really was actually quite easy to get into, which is just as well, because it's 10mm after all. No, I'm only joking. I think it's rather discourteous of Rover to cut this particular corner, having no handle to manually open the boot. What have you got trapped in the back? I mean, obviously you can't fit a full-size person in the boot of a Rover 25, but you could fit a dog. And at least, you know, the 75, the pull thing. I mean, most dogs wouldn't know how to operate that, that's the only thing. Now, some people don't believe that these actually exist. A T50. I actually paid £7 for that one tool, which does seem like quite a lot, but it's one of those things you've got to get right. You get the Torx bolts wrong and they're never going to come out. Well, they will, but it's just a lot of hassle. Hassle with a capital B. You have to get it right because that is a 400 Newton meter gun, which isn't really a massive amount, but for undoing a seat belt, you think it should be more than enough. But these are a combination of Loctite and rust as well. Normally, as I work, I just put my tools to one side and try and remember to put them away later on. Not with this one. This one goes away straight away. I'm not losing that thing. One thing I am not doing at the moment is regretting taking this car apart. Because obviously I had the choice of trying to get a new MOT on it and selling it on. But everywhere you look, there's something else broken. This thing's obviously had a bit of a whack. Not a big deal, but even that. I've got plenty of these, but having it broken on the case like that and then glued back down again. My friend Pool's been down to take something off of this, and he got the jack stuck. Well, looks like my plans have changed again for the day, and not for a good reason. That tyre had a lot more air in it before than it does now. I don't want to have a third puncture in just over a week. That would really do my head in. It would annoy me. It would make me angry. Like that. Can't see anything stuck in it. That's broken, which means it's useless. So now I'm having to rely on this to tell me how much air is still left in there. The front end of Project Steve is rather low, so here's a little tip from me to me. Piece of wood underneath the tyre gives it a bit of extra height. Just make sure there's not a nail in that piece of wood first. As usual, time is flying by. 2:10. That means I've got to go in half an hour. There's not a lot of point in me trying to continue with what I was doing down the back. It was most definitely my intention to get the Snotmobile on the back of Project Transit Face, but I'm not going to manage that now. I'll have to wait until tomorrow. So I'm going to do something that to me is equally as important. Filling buckets up with water. I just like a clean car, that's all. Dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean. Lovely and clean indeed. Oh, yeah. People just don't drive quite as well as they should do. Whilst you're having your test and your lessons and things, you've got to be concentrating all the time so you can learn and impress your examiner and prove that you can drive properly. And then, for many people, in fact maybe even most, you've passed your test and driving standards just drop and drop and drop. Everywhere you go, people just don't seem to be paying any attention to what they're doing. I've just nearly had somebody run into me on the roundabout then, and you can bet they'd think it was my fault because it was them that wasn't paying any attention. And I next see somebody who's driving, you know, inconsistently, erratically, carelessly, I'd love to just say to them, your driving is not as good as a learner drives. Somebody who has just started learning to drive can drive better than you. You would drive better if somebody was telling you step-by-step instructions on how to do it correctly. A couple of lovely chaps have just come up to buy a gearbox and a turbo and loads of other rather fantastic bits from the Project Nigel headquarter land in this Rover 25 with a rather special mileage. 306,597 miles. Wandering around the yard in the dark. Oh, I should put these things away. You know when you go in the supermarket and you always have one of these people that block the aisle with their trolley? That's how they park. And then you have these other people that just stand in the way while there's other people around them, and you think their peripheral vision would actually give them some sort of clue as to people trying to get past. Those are the people that block exits, park on zigzags and on double yellow lines, and then complain when they get parking tickets. And you know those people that chat to the checkout assistant, keep a queue of people waiting behind and seem completely oblivious to it? Yeah, they're arseholes.